I'd like to convene the September 2018 Planning Commission. Y'all are welcome here. And we'll proceed with the roll call.
Chairman Berry.
Here.
Vice Chair Latour.
Here.
Commissioner Bynum.
Here.
Commissioner Cox. Here. Commissioner Finney.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton. Here. Commissioner Haynes.
Here.
Commissioner Leahy. Here. Commissioner May.
Here.
Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Thomas. You have 9 members present. You do have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the August 9th minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the minutes of August 9th.
Do we hear a second? Okay. A motion to approve the minutes has been made and seconded. Those approved, raise your hand. Those who do not? Okay, minutes have been approved. Can we hear the presentation of the consent agenda, please?
The subdivision consent agenda, September 20th, 2018. Items for consent withdrawal. Item D, file number Z-4807-Q. New Hampton Astoria Residential Apartments, long form PDR, located north of Chenal Valley Drive on the northeast corner of Chenal Valley Drive and Gordon Road. The applicant submitted a request dated September 6, 2018, requesting withdrawal of this item without prejudice. Staff is supportive of the withdrawal request. Item number 8, file number Z-9353, 13100 Lawson Road, long form PDC, located at 13100 Lawson Road. The applicant submitted a request on September 18, 2018, requesting withdrawal of this item without prejudice. The withdrawal request will require a waiver of the Commission's bylaws with regard to the late withdrawal request. Staff is supportive of the withdrawal request. Items for consent deferral. Item A, file number S-1825, Simpson Addition preliminary plat, located east of Milburn Lane and Dover Street in the Granite Mountain area. The applicant submitted a request on September 6, 2018, requesting deferral of this item to the November 1, 2018 public hearing. Staff is supportive of the deferral request. Item number 2, file number Z-7463-C, Lot 4, Commerce Square Addition, conditional use permit, located on the north side of West 65th Street in the 6100 block. The applicant submitted a request for deferral of this item to the November 1, 2018 public hearing on September 18, 2018. The deferral request will require a waiver of the Commission's bylaws with regard to the late deferral request. Staff is supportive of the deferral request. Item number 3, file number Z-3501-B, Icon Homes, short form PDR, located on the north side of West Markham Street in the 8000 block of West Markham. The applicant submitted a request for deferral of this item to the November 1, 2018 public hearing on September 19, 2018. The deferral request will require a waiver of the Commission's bylaws with regard to the late deferral request. Staff is supportive of the deferral request. Item number 6, file number Z-8286-B, 13500 Vimy Ridge Road, short form PCD, located in the 13500 block of Vimy Ridge Road. The applicant submitted a request for deferral of this item to the November 1, 2018 public hearing on September 18, 2018. The deferral request will require a waiver of the Commission's bylaws with regard to the late deferral request. Staff is supportive of the deferral request. And item number 7, file number Z-9352, 4616 Asher Avenue, short form PCD, located at 4616 Asher Avenue. Staff recommends deferral of this item to the November 1, 2018 public hearing. The applicant has indicated there's additional information that staff has not been provided, so staff would like some additional time to review what the applicant has provided. Items for consent approval. Item B, file number S-1819, 65th Street Center, Subdivision Site Plan Review, located at 5303 West 65th Street. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Item number 1, file number S-1603-A, lots 6R, 7RA, 7RB, and 8R, Block 11, Weldon E. Wrights Edition, replat, located at 1871 South Izzard Street. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the variance request to allow reduced lot areas, lot widths, and setbacks for the lots as proposed. Item number 4, file number Z-4653-J, Powell Brothers Revised Short Form PCD, located at 1308 South Bowman Road. The applicant has provided staff with information regarding the noise levels and activities which will take place outside on the site. Based on the information provided, staff is in support of the request. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends the road widening to South Bowman Road be completed with the expansion of the existing building or with the construction of a future building, or at the time that South Bowman Road is planned to be constructed as a public project, the developer may elect to make a payment in lieu of construction of the required street improvements. Item number 5, file number Z-4745-C, Shackelford Canis, revised short form PDC, located at 10721 Canis Road. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. And item number 10, the adoption of the Planning Commission calendar. I want to make a note that there should be a correction that 12/23/19 is a Monday and not Tuesday as indicated on the calendar that was included in the package. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion for the bylaw waivers?
Mr. Chairman, I move a bylaw waiver for items 2, item 3, item 6, and item 8.
Great. We have a motion to defer, waive the bylaws for the deferral of those items. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, do I hear a motion for the consent agenda, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions therein.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded for approval of the consent agenda. Those approved, raise your hand. Those who do not? Okay, consent agenda has been approved. If there was an item on here, if you're an applicant or just listening in that was on the consent agenda you just heard, then you're welcome to leave or stay. We have now 2 items on our regular agenda, C and 9. That was deferred.
Jeremy, you can go.
Okay, does everyone understand where they need to be? If your item is still up or gone. Great. All right, Donna, could you read item C, please?
Item C, file number Z-2481-D, Geyer Springs Business Center, revised short form PCD, located behind 7315 Geyer Springs Road. Ordinance number 14582, adopted by the Little Rock Board of Directors on January 17, 1984, rezoned the site from C3 and R5 to a PCD. The approval allowed for 3 buildings, 20,000 square feet of storage space on a 1.63 acre parcel. The development did not occur and the zoning approval has expired. The current request is for a PCD, Planned Commercial Development Zoning District, to allow the development of the site with a mixed-use development. The applicant indicates a single 14,280 square foot building will be placed on the site. The cover letter notes that 3,570 square feet of the building will be used for retail sales and 9,520 square feet is proposed as an event center. The site plan indicates 98 parking spaces to serve the development. Parking for retail use would be based on 1 space per 300 gross square feet of floor area. The retail portion of the development would typically require the placement of 11 parking spaces. The event center, based on the square footage, at 1 space per 100 gross square feet of building area, would require the placement of 95 parking spaces. The plan indicates the placement of a 6-foot landscape strip along the eastern perimeter of the site. The landscape strip is within the 10-foot utility easement. Typically, utility easements are not allowed to count towards a buffer width requirement. The northern perimeter landscape strip is indicated at 4 feet, and there is no southern landscape strip indicated on the site plan. Also, a portion of the northern landscape strip is also placed at 0. The landscape ordinance would typically require each of these 2 strips to be 9 feet wide. To allow the reduction in the landscape strips will also require approval by the City Beautiful Commission prior to the item being heard by the Little Rock Board of Directors. Retail hours of operation proposed from 8 to 8, 7 days a week. Event hours will vary no later than 12 on Monday through Wednesday, and Thursday through Sunday events are to end by 1 a.m. The zoning ordinance defines an event center as a privately owned property, building, or portion of a building, the primary purpose of which is to be rented or leased for parties, entertainment functions, conventions, conferences, seminars, etc. This definition does not include facilities or banquet halls or meeting facilities which are ancillary use to a permitted use within a zoning district, such as a restaurant. Separation requirements for event centers are to be determined by the Planning Commission so as to not adversely impact neighborhoods. Event centers require review consideration distance from churches, schools, single-family homes, and multifamily uses and sexually oriented businesses. There is a single-family home located immediately east of this proposed event center. Staff is not supportive of the applicant's request. The applicant is seeking approval of an event center for a site along with retail uses. The site is located adjacent to single-family homes to the east. The site plan is proposed has driveways and parking along the rear portion of the building, which also concerns staff. The hours of the event center are a concern, and the lack of landscaping and perimeter plantings is a concern. Staff does not feel this is an appropriate location or site for an event center, and staff recommends denial of the request.
Thank you. Applicant here, please. Would you come to the podium and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jason with Half Plus Marler, and this is actually the applicant, Mr. Gutierrez.
Would you like to speak to your application?
The gentleman, Mr. Gutierrez has talked to the neighbors. He went around to the neighbors and spoke to them. Has got no opposition from even the neighbor behind him. If he wants to talk on that, he can, furthermore. I mean, he's just, and actually the drawings changed a little bit. It's 3 retail businesses instead of 4 there. But the actual size is correct, what Ms. Donna read off. The size is correct, but the actual, he changed it down to 3 instead of 4. Because we ended up moving the drive and all the parking, or everything in the back, we had to move out due to add a 27-foot landscape strip on the rear. That was required. And then there's also a drive around the back for fire access. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I know one of the main worries about an event center would be the kind of party that or the kind of ambiance that could come out of having parties and whatnot there. I like to add that we actually we own the building next to it where
To the south.
yeah, to the south, and we have a family grocery and bakery store there. And what we do a lot of wedding cakes and birthday cakes and things like that. And a lot of times people ask us if we know any event centers and whatnot. And so we see a business opportunity there. But we also, the reason that we would like to have it there is because we work there, all day, either me or my parents or my brothers, and we can keep an eye and make sure, who we rent out to, the requirements that we would have as far as having police officers and security, whether it be a family party or public party. And I just kind of wanted to add that our intention is to make it nicer, and we since we are there, we'd be the first people to be affected by it. And I'm sorry, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned the homeowner just south of the facility. You did talk to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Just south of the facility is actually his property. It's actually to the east of the property.
Okay, yeah.
And then
I'm
there's
sorry.
a trailer park to the north of the property, and he is.
We have a pretty good relationship with everybody there. So we see them often. They go to the store often and everything. They like the idea. They're asking us when they can have a party there.
So staff's recommending denial. How many parking spaces would this typically require? I was looking.
Parking's not really an issue
Okay, so-
unless they overlap the retail and the
Gotcha.
events, and then it wouldn't be maybe
Understand.
10 spaces
Okay.
short.
Gotcha, thanks. Other commissioners? Mr. Stebbins?
Yes, the staff objects to the 4 additional requirements on the adversely impacting the neighborhood. So the only one of the four is the home, the single-family residence. There's no events 750 feet of a church, sexually oriented business, or public or private elementary school. So there's no schools. It's just the fourth of those four criteria.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I mean, but you've got the residential, you've also got some multifamily down to the south, and then you have the manufactured homes to the north, and then the little subdivision that's also a little bit to the northeast.
Okay.
But we did do notice to all the, within the required notice, and the only call I received on the whole thing was a property on the opposite side of Geyer Springs where that C4 is up there, and he was for it.
Okay.
What operation, what kind of business is in that C4 section?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm really not. I mean, it's a commercial business.
Any other comments, questions, commissioners? Commissioner Latour?
What's in the little C4 just to the end of that panhandle, right?
That's where their actual business is, their
The cake deal?
bakery. That's where they operate their bakery out of.
Okay. You good?
Great.
Right.
The president of Southwest Little Rock United for Progress was in the building of another meeting prior to this one, and I asked her if she could stay. And she had a family problem at home and had to go. But Southwest UPS voted against this. We're opposed to it. And our experience with these event centers, even though they say they're going home at 1 o'clock or something like that, either inside the building or outside, they manage to stay. And that's what we objecting to, and we don't think this would be an appropriate place for that in Southwest Little Rock. And I happen to live next door to a Hispanic family, and sometimes their parties go on all night long.
Thank you, Commissioner Leahy. Do I hear any other comments or motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that I move we approve this item, including all staff conditions and comments and conditions except for that of denial.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this application. And it's been seconded. Those in favor of this application, raise your hand.
Well,
And those
question in favor
Yes.
with the,
in favor of the motion to approve the application.
okay. Prove it.
Okay. Those opposed? What's the vote count? Okay, thank you. All right. When we get a chance, let's queue up item number 9, please.
Item number 9 it is. File number LA 0079A, Carti Land Alteration Revised Variance Request. The applicant, Carti, is requesting a revision to the previously approved variances from the land alteration regulations to vary the land restoration plan from the requirements of Section 29-196 on a 17-acre property located on the north side of Carti Way, south of I-630 at 8901 Carti Way. On May 17, 2018, the Planning Commission approved a variance request to vary the land alteration plan from the requirements in Section 29-196 for Carti. The previously approved restoration plan consisted of replanting a total of 45 trees and constructing a wooden privacy fence within the site and along the eastern property line. Carti would then make a contribution of $63,334.86 to the City of Little Rock TREE Fund for the remaining 97 trees which could not be replanted on the site. With this application, Kartai requests to revise that previously approved variance by establishing the buffer as previously proposed on the east property line and planting of 7 trees and shrubbery and constructing a 6-foot tall wooden privacy fence with the good side of the fence facing the adjacent property. The applicant no longer, though, proposes to replant trees within the site and no longer proposes to make a contribution to the city tree fund for the balance of unplanted trees. On January 31st, 2018, the staff issued a notice of violation number 0006 to Kartai for the removal of 39 mature trees on the site across from their current property. Some of the removed trees and vegetation were located within the land use buffer along that east property line. The land alteration ordinance, I know some of you have heard items like this before and some maybe haven't, but Kartai come to us some time back and says we want a permit to remove trees across from our property and increase our visibility. And we explained the process to them, that there is a process. Staff can't issue that permit, but you can come to the Planning Commission and get approval for a timber harvest. Well, somehow whatever happened since, they went out and cut some trees without approval. They got a notice of violation. They appeared before you before, and they got approval of a restoration plan. Staff signed off on it. We're okay. And they're back, though, with a revised plan. And the plan, in this instance, does not replant the trees or make a contribution to our tree fund, which is used to plant trees in city right-of-ways and public lands. These options are all spelled out in the ordinance, and it's just the way things are set up, that the Planning Commission has that authority to issue tree harvest permits, and you also are charged with deciding what an appropriate restoration plan is. We're not supporting reducing the plan that was already approved. We like the old one. We don't think it's appropriate that they removed a lot of trees when they should have known they shouldn't have done that, and that there should be at least some replanting of trees. And if the commission decides that's not appropriate, maybe a contribution to the fund. You know, we had a plan approved once and they'd like to change it again. So we are, in this instance, recommending denial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Excuse me, sir. May I go
Yeah.
on for just a moment?
Sure.
Did we go on through all the photos already? I didn't even look up. We have a few photos for your benefit of before and after. This is what the site looked like from Kartai Way before and after, and then I believe another after shot. And from the interstate highway looking up before and after. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here, please, like to approach the podium? Frank?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Frank Riggins. I'm with Crafted Tull Engineers. I'm here with Jim Beatty, who is the Director of Engineering for Kartai. As Mr. Hood stated, you all approved a tree mitigation plan back in May that was prepared by me, and to make amends for the 39 trees that were removed from the portion of the 17.5-acre site that Kartai owns across from their main campus on Kartai Way. This area is about 13,000 square feet. Of 17.5 acres, it constitutes about 13,000 square feet, which is about 1.7% of that entire site. Just to kind of give you a little perspective that really doesn't show up in the photographs. It's a very small area. The cost of replanting the trees and paying the in lieu contribution and erecting the fence along the property line that's shared with Woodland Heights, the cost of that's going to be somewhere north of about $100,000. $100,000 for cutting down 39 trees. Trees were certainly sizable, as I said, on about 13,000 square feet of a 17.5 acre site. We are here to ask you to consider waiving 2 of the 3 conditions of the approved mitigation plan. Kartai is agreeable, as Mr. Hood described, with erecting the fence along the area that was cleared with planting evergreen trees along the buffer there, but is asking you to reconsider the planting of the trees and the in lieu contribution. This whole discussion came out of Carti's study of the feasibility of constructing a facility on that property. This came about in looking at this new facility and the impact of construction would have on these improvements if they were put into place, and the cost associated with that. You know, Carti is not crying foul or saying they're being mistreated in any way. The land alteration is good legislation. I believe the original intent of the ordinance was to keep unscrupulous developers from wholesale clearing of property and grading it and putting it up for sale without having an approved plan of development or having a plan of imminent development. And I can assure you that this is not the case here. As I stated, less than 2% of the property was affected. The entire site was not cleared. It was not graded. The property is not up for sale. I might add that when this property is developed, the facility that will be placed on this site will be totally in direct relationship with the function of Carti and its mission. You know, they didn't do it out of a profit motive, I guess what I'm trying to say is Carti is not in the development business, and they're not in the retail business. They didn't cut the trees down to harvest new customers off of the freeway with a flashing sign that's advertising, you know, good rates or a low price or a good deal. That's not what their clientele is looking for. They did it as a wayfinding effort in order to make their facility a little more visible for folks who are coming in from out of town. And so, as I mentioned, Carti is not in the development business. They're not crying foul, but they would asking you to reconsider, based on those points I tried to make, that perhaps in this instance the planting of the trees, the in lieu contribution, and the fence and the restoration of the buffer is perhaps a little more than might justify the cost of doing so in this instance. So, anyway, thank you for your time.
Okay. Commissioners, questions, comments, observations? Yes, Commissioner May.
Very good presentation. In fact, other than the hair, you remind me of myself. Right before retirement, I was talking to the FDIC about how unfair the penalty I was receiving was. And we have a saying in banking, we've got several bankers here, easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. I think that's what your speech just said. Sorry, but we have rules too, and I'm going to have to be just as hard on you as they were on me.
Thank you, Commissioner May. I forgot to recognize Ruth Bell, who had a card here. So, Ruth, would you like to come up and make your comments, please? I apologize immensely.
That's all right. I'll let you know I was there. I'm Ruth Bell. I'm with the League of Women Voters, and I remember when this landscape ordinance, the land ordinance, was passed and worked really hard on many of its provisions. And I will tell you that what the performance you just heard from Mr. Riggin, who I personally think is a nice guy, but he's very misinformed about a lot of things, and that one of the things he's misinformed about is the forces that led to the writing of the ordinance you're upholding, I hope. And that is this very I did it, and I'm sorry, you'll forgive me and you won't punish me approach. That's a major reason why the original ordinance got passed, big time. And when you tie it with the fact that they cleared some land before they had a project in the works, designed, ready to go, that was another major force toward getting the ordinances passed. This is just inappropriate behavior by anybody, especially a major institution that prides itself on serving the community. This is not the way to serve the community by not obeying the laws of the community. As far as visibility is concerned, it used to be that you looked at the buildings and the names and the signs on the building, but now you go to Google and type in the name and it tells you all about it. And if you really can't find your way around town or read a map, you print the address in your GPS and have some nice lady tell you what to do. Now, if you all only listen to this nice lady as well as the people listen to the GPS lady, I'd be very happy. The long and short of it is they broke the laws of the community. They agreed at a restoration plan, which you approved and the city board approved, I believe. And now they want to come back and redo it again with a lot less restoration. And I am asking you to vote no on their request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. We have heard from the league. Alderman Voters.
May I?
Uh,
May-
yeah,
wait, may I?
Yes, Donna.
The city board did not approve the restoration plan. It never made it to the city board. The city board, what was before the city board was to approve the contribution to the tree fund, but it was pulled from the board's agenda prior to the board taking any action.
Gotcha. Thanks for that clarification. Appreciate that. Yeah, Frank, I'll have just a minute. I'll just see if there's any other questions we have and commissioners. Okay, Mr. Riggins.
Chairman, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bell. I might remind the commission that we're not speaking to the landscape ordinance. If we were, I think that we could show that Carti, with what they've done at their existing campus, has done above and beyond what is required by code. I think if you go out there, you will see an abundance of trees and shrubs and pathways and gardens. There's even a waterfall out there. The facility that will be built on this site, I'm sure, will be of that same design standard. So it's not about the landscape ordinance, it's about land alteration. And as I said, Carti is not crying foul. They're not saying, oh, we're being treated unfair. We are simply, I'm trying to equate the punishment, if you will, with the crime. We're talking about $100,000 here to restore this 13,000 square foot piece of ground there out of 17 and a half acres for the cutting down of 39 trees. And as I mentioned, and it's my belief that the land alteration ordinance was originally drafted to keep folks, and I remember when we didn't have one, and I remember the instances which led to the land alteration ordinance. That land would be cleared and graded and set vacant for some period of time. They didn't do this to profit from it. They didn't do this to sell the land. They did it so folks could, as a wayfinding measure. And so we're simply just asking that perhaps that be taken into consideration in reducing some of the conditions that were set forth at the May meeting. They're agreeing to putting in the buffer along the east property line with their neighbor, but it could very well be that this property is going to be developed in the near future. There's no hard plan now. Nothing has been submitted to the city. Yet we have had some meetings with staff to discuss how that property on the north might be developed, and so things are certainly in the works. So we're asking you to take that in consideration. Think about what Carti does. Think about their mission. They didn't do this for profit, and they're asking for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riggins. Commissioner Latour. Thank
Mr. Chairman, I move, I move for approval of this item with all, including all staff conditions and comments therein, except for that of denial.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this application for variance. Do you hear a second for that? Second. Okay. Now, let me make it clear what the motion is. Okay. You always have to do a motion in the affirmative. Okay? You've been chair. So, this is a motion to approve their application for a variance from the previous approved plan. And he just mentions that, except for staff recommendation denials, that's a legality. So everyone understand that if you're for their application to change the variance, raise your hand. Those who vote to deny or do not approve their application, raise your hand. Okay. It's unanimous. Okay. All right. Citizens communication, anyone wish to say anything? If not, I'd like to use the prerogative of the chair to recognize one staff member who will be leaving us after 21 years here shortly to go across the river to Argenta, where, of course, we enjoy Argenta, too, as our friends. So, Donna, James, thank you very much for your service. Appreciate that. Okay. We are adjourned.